So I'm working on this assignment for my Art 2 class, which I'm super excited about because this is something I've personally wanted to work on for a long time now, where you get to design our own characters. And so for me, I am redesigning my virtual avatar Vespora, which I originally designed about 3 years ago. I was in class yesterday working on the first part of this assignment, which was the front view, and my fellow students were curious as to how I did my line work. So a lot of them are much younger than me and are only just starting on their illustrative journey. So it was really fun to show them some of the hacks that I've come up with over the years to make my process a lot faster. I love line art, and line art is a huge part of my art style, so I spend a lot of time making sure that it's right. And I know that my process isn't the fastest, but it works exceptionally well for me and results in the exact style that I want. So I'm going to show you how I do my line art in Photoshop, and hopefully it can help you. So looking at what I've already drawn here, and then I'm going to go into a time lapse and draw in the side view in the middle of these two figures that I've already finished. But if we look at the first figure here, so I'll zoom in here. So we're looking at the layers that are involved with this one. And this, I have a folder here called Front. And in here, I have all the different layers that I've created that makes up the line art of this character. The folder itself is set to the multiply mode, which makes sure that everything inside of it, if it is white or shades of a less than 50% black, it will be transparent, and if it's darker than that, it will have shades of opacity. So I have these two color fill layers at the very bottom here. I have a white and a gray, and I had the white turned on. And what's notable about a multiply mode is that the line art doesn't have any white showing when I switch the backdrop to gray. Now if I change this multiply folder to normal, now you see all of my layers underneath, which are just normal layers using black and white color. This is really effective to build up your line art, especially if you don't want to lose some of the details underneath. Like for example, I still have a full figure of anatomy here for the most part. A few pieces I was hacking as I was getting her proportions correct. But the clothes I drew in several layers on top of that. So her shoes are their own layer, which are not shown in the camera at the moment. So shoes. I have her accessories on another layer because I didn't want to accidentally mess up the very clean landmark line art, which is her body form. And of course I have a base folder for her, or base layer for the clothes base, and so on and so on. And then every once in a while I'll have a masking layer, which is basically just a fill-in of the white color to hide the line work underneath. And it's just as simple as that. Same thing also then for the hair, and that makes it a lot easier to paint in. And the hair, because it's very complex, I have a folder for that, and then the layers for each of the major distinguishing parts. And then I have a white mask for the ears. I put the ears in here because they're kind of in with the hair. She has a bandana, and then of course the front with the bangs. So yeah, all of that, then, you know, when I am finally done with all of my messing around with my line art on the various layers to make sure that I have what I want, this next part blew their minds, which is how I go from this to something that I can color, to color the line art. Because this is what would traditionally be like a non-starter, because if I would to paint over these lines, even if I flatten it all down, it would still have that white paint, and then I have to go through this like really painful selection mode of trying to select all the white. There's a really it's just not even a hack. It's just, I don't know, it just exists in Photoshop and it works awesome for this. Where we're going to make this, everything that's white transparent, and then everything that's black is still black, and then I'll be able to set this up for painting layers. Now, the one thing I wanted to note, and I'm going to clean this up, but I'm not for this demonstration, is that there's some still sketchy lines in here. What I would want to make sure that I do before I would do this next step is to clean as much of this up as possible with an overpaint layer, just to make sure that everything is as crisp and clean as I want it to be with the black light, with the black line mark. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I just have the marquee tool, and I'm going to just select everything that I want. Let's just assuming like this is a new final piece, and I'm going to color this line art and make it amazing, which I am later, just not right now. And so I have that framed up, and I press Control Shift and C, and that's going to copy all the layers down. I've just taken the white as well as the background. Now I'm just going to create a new file from the clipboard, which is the exact size of my marquee selection, and Control V to paste. And now I have what is a flat, basically flat black and white image of my line work, which is great, but not still super useful. Now, if you didn't use the trick I'm going to show you next, what you would have to do is then select everything. Let's say, oh, not contiguous, because we want everything, right? And then you have to, oh, there's a tolerance of 2. So if I just delete this, right? Now, ooh, I've gotten rid of, oops, hold on here. Got that, I was in the number here. So I hit backspace key to delete everything that's white in here. And let's say I go in and I fill this backdrop. Oops, there we go. So if I try and fill this, I'm selecting just all the white, and I hit backspace to just delete. Okay, so this is like the quick and dirty way to get rid of all the white on a black layer. And as you can see, I've just made a humongous mess for myself. And you know, without being able to use this little hack that I'm going to show you, like this is pretty much what you would have to do. You would have to go through and draw it at least one more time without the white. So anyway, ain't nobody got time for that. So we're going to get rid of that. And now we're going to go back to the white. Flatten this down. Not that quite matters for this next thing. Okay, so this is how we use Photoshop to get this into wonderful white as transparent and black as things that we can paint on layer. So I'm going to select this entire thing and just hit Control C, and I don't need to hit Control Shift C because I have one layer here. So Control C to copy this, and I'm going to go over into the channels panel, and I'll move this over here with the layers. Right now, by default, every Photoshop file has 3 of them. We've got the RGB, which is all of them, and then red, green, and blue. Now right now I'm in a black and white, so changing them doesn't really do any difference, but what's really great is if we go down here and add a layer, air quotes layer, or actually in this particular tab we're creating a new channel, and the only other channel that's left to create is the alpha channel. So what I'm going to do now is just Control V and paste in what I had, and now Control I will invert that selection. That's just a default Photoshop thing. And now what I've done is basically created an alpha channel of all of my now white lines that represent what I want to be painted. Not unlike how you do screen printing. You know, what we've done is basically created a screen, an alpha screen that says like everything that's in white here, I'm going to paint. And the cool thing is that we can just create this as a selection by control clicking the alpha channel. And that's all you have to do over here. So with that selected, we're going to go back over here. And now this is in red because we're in kind of like a masking mode. I'm not stressing about that. I'm just going to create a new layer here. I'm going to hide this one. And just so that you can see this, I'm going to put it in a nice big red color. Actually, before we even do that, I'm going to create a new layer. We're going to call this a fill layer with a nice solid color. Oh, and an unexpected little thing that it just helped me with is that it created a fill layer based on my selection. That's kind of cool. I just learned something new. And what it did is it created that line work as a mask. So that's even something else you could use. Oh, look at me learning stuff. Okay, well, I didn't actually intend to do that, but that's a little cool little bonus thing. So instead, now that I have the T-Sclape, I'm just going to create a layer here. You just saw the trick. That was it. We're going to do it one more time, though. All right, we got a nice, let's make it a little bit darker. All right, so we have a nice dark green sort of colored background, so this is easier to see on camera. I'm going back over the channels layer, and I'm going to control click again on that alpha layer just to get that selection. And now I'm going to switch to black, and with my paint bucket, I'm just going to click once. Multiple times will fill it in more, and it'll make your lines heavier. So that's something to note. So I just Control H to hid the dancing ants so you can see this. Now this is with one hit. Watch, it's going to probably be really subtle on camera, but if I hit it again, notice how it thickened everything up. That may be a style that you want, but it's just worth noting that, you know, it's like the tolerance for the tolerance setting for the paint bucket tool is determining how much it aliases in to fill in that color for you. So we could back that out completely. I can unhide my dancing ant selection, and I think if we take this up to something higher, let's say, I don't know, 60, and I just tap once with the thing, it's going to fill in less in some of those less than 100% selections. So even though like the ants can't technically get in here and dance around that selection, it's still being selected. It's just not being shown as accurately with the interface because it's like, you know, half pixels we're dealing with here. So anyway, I actually would like it to be a little bit fuller than that. So just where I'm at right now, I'm just going to tap it one more time. And that got me to what, like, you know, with a 30-ish% tolerance that it was at before. So I'll just put that back to 30. So all right, so now we have, let me just undo that one time. Maybe I do like it better with that. You know what that is? That's actually, I like that better. Tolerance 60. That seemed to look a little bit nicer. Okay, but now we have this is a normal layer. It is transparent with black. So the only thing that is filled is the things that we can see instead of it being set to a modifier mode, the multiply mode, with hidden information, which is to say the white. Now we're dealing with what we see is what we get, which is awesome. All right, so what's the best way to color these lines now that we have a nice clean layer? We don't want to go in and start painting over, which is to say, you can set this layer to transparent to lock the transparent pixels. I mean, you can do this. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm going to bring my paintbrush up a little bit. And so I'm just going to paint right over the lines that are there while I'm in transparent mode. And you can see that it's just painting in, coloring in my lines, right? There's a slightly different way that you can go about this, which I think is a little bit cleaner to keep this as sort of like your master copy. I personally like to have the black lines as the basis in case I want to go back on some of my coloring. So the best way to do that is just to create a new layer on top of the one that we've just made. And by right clicking, you can go down and say create clipping mask. There's Alt-Control-G is the hotkey. But you can notice that it is in clipping mode where you see this little arrow pointing downward. It's almost like a reverse folder where the layer 1, in my case, because I didn't name my layers, is the line art layer. Let's just go line art. I can type line art. Okay, so we don't forget. And it's still locked for transparency, which is cool. But now everything that I put on this layer, let's call it color. Now everything that I put in this color 1 is only going to show based on the pixels in the layer that it's clipping. So I can fill this entire layer paint bucket style with a color. Let's use a nice pretty purple color. Boom. And now it's just showing that color. Even though the entire layer is, oops, am I still, oh, I still have the selection. Let's hit it. All right, entire thing, entire layer is filled with pink, but it's only being revealed where the selection or where the pixels are painted on the line art layer. And then from here, then you can just paint on this like normal. And I think this is a much cleaner workflow because then I can go in here and let's say I want a darker color for the hair. You know, maybe I want a brush that has a little bit more opacity and I want to go in here. You can do some really cool chroma effects with your line art this way, you know, just kind of swoosh it. Look how cool it is. And then if I had the flats, let me get like a better color than this obnoxious green now that we know what we're doing. All right, let's bring this down to, oh no, like that. And then I'll delete this mask since we don't want that. And that's kind of the same color we were at. Oh, get stuck on green. Here we go. That looks a lot nicer. All right, something maybe. Ooh, yeah, cool. All right. But look at how chromatic and vibrant that is with our line work. And if we had, you know, some flats in here as well for the colors and some depth, that is going to really start to be a really interesting piece. So this levels up your line art really quickly with not a whole lot of effort, with just 2 tricks. The first one being the building up your layers bit by bit with a multiply folder and black and white layers underneath. And then when you're done, bring it over to another file temporarily, create your alpha channel, and then set yourself up to be able to paint your layers this way. All right, well, that's all of my tricks. Now you can go out and be way better than me at doing this art, and that's totally fine with me. I hope this helped you. Thank you so much for watching and for your support, and good luck with your arting. All right, this is going to conclude this time-lapse video, as I am 90% done with the line art for this character turnaround, aside from some fun details. And I'm going to do color off camera, just because I can't give you all my secrets in one video. But I have plenty of them already on my YouTube channel if you're desperate to know. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you. I've had a blast drawing this, and I can't wait to see her finished and eventually in a 3D virtual avatar version 2.0. Thanks again.